Good people build cages too. They just use better materials. Think you're a good person. Most people do, and most people are right. You pay your bills. You show up. You're not the villain in anyone's story, including your own. But that's exactly why this matters. Because the cage was never built by villains. Daniel is 34, Austin, Texas, nice apartment, granite countertops at a parking spot near the elevator, a girlfriend named Sarah he's been with for 4 years. They talk about getting a dog, sometimes a bigger place. They don't talk about much else. He makes enough money to stop thinking about money. And that matters, because once you stop thinking about money, you start not thinking about other things too. That's how it begins. Not with a bad life, with a comfortable one. His therapist, the one he stopped seeing 8 months ago because things were going better. She had a word for what Daniel was doing. He never asked what it was. Think about that for a second. A person who is supposedly self-aware enough to go to therapy, choosing not to know, not because he forgot, because some part of him understood that knowing would cost something. That's not a flaw, that's a strategy, and you've used it too. 2 years ago, a startup offered him a position. Different city, real risk, real upside. He thought about it for 11 days, made a list, called his dad, talked to Sarah. Everyone said the same thing. You have something good here. So he didn't go. He told himself it was a mature decision, thoughtful, the kind a stable person makes. But here's the sentence he never finished out loud. He didn't go because the fear of failing in front of people who knew him was bigger than the fear of never finding out what he was capable of. He filed that away, moved on. The days kept coming. That's the thing about small sacrifices. They don't arrive as sacrifices, they arrive as wisdom. He didn't just do this once. Watch. A friendship he let fade. Not a fight, just fewer texts, then none. It wasn't a decision. It was a sequence of non-decisions, each one reasonable on its own. And here's the part he never examined. He wasn't too busy. He just couldn't figure out how to show up for someone else's pain without it costing him his own stability. So he didn't, and it was easier. And easier is a door that only opens in one direction. That's not a story about one friendship. That's the pattern. A conversation with Sarah he kept postponing. Not a fight. Just something unsaid, the kind that doesn't announce itself, doesn't demand attention, just sits between two people like a piece of furniture nobody wants to move. You stop noticing it until you notice you stopped noticing it. He was going to bring it up. He just kept waiting for the right moment. Here's what nobody tells you about the right moment. It doesn't come, not because you missed it, because the right moment doesn't exist until you decide to stop waiting for it. And deciding requires a version of you that's willing to sit in the discomfort of what comes after. The silence, the shift, the thing that changes once you say the thing. That version of you keeps not being ready. Daniel is not unhappy, and that's the sentence that should stop you. Not Daniel is miserable. That would be easy. Not Daniel is broken. That would have a fix. Daniel is not unhappy, which means there's nothing to point to, nothing to repair. Just a man living his life, doing it correctly, missing something he can't name. He's not in crisis, sleeps fine, laughs at dinner. Got a strong review last spring. By every visible measure, the man is okay. But there's something underneath that okay. Not pain, something quieter than pain. A kind of low-grade static. The feeling that his days are full and somehow not quite reaching him. Like he's watching his own life from one room over. He's tried to name it. A few times late at night he's gotten close. And every single time, something in him changes the subject. Not because he's weak, because he's practiced. Because somewhere along the way he got very, very good at the moment just before the thought completes. We talk about comfort, like it's something that happens to you. It isn't. Think about the last time you avoided something. Not dramatically, just quietly set it aside. Maybe a conversation, maybe an appointment. Maybe a version of yourself you stopped making time for. You know the feeling. That particular relief of deciding not to decide. That relief is what comfort is made of. Psychologists call it the self-directed narrowing of a life, the gradual, unconscious process of shrinking your exposure to discomfort until the walls are so close, you've stopped seeing them as walls. It doesn't feel like shrinking. It feels like stability. It feels like you're finally being an adult. It feels, on most days, like being fine. And fine is patient. Fine will wait as long as you need. Maybe Daniel made the right choices. Maybe. Maybe the startup would have collapsed. Maybe moving would have ended things with Sarah, and Sarah is real and she matters. Maybe staying was genuinely correct. We'll never know, and that's not the problem. The problem is, he stopped asking. The voice that used to ask got smaller, then faint, then something he could only hear if the apartment was completely silent at 2 in the morning. Which it almost never was, because he'd learned to keep something playing in the background. The apartment that was supposed to be temporary became just home. Nothing broke. That's the part that should unsettle you. Nobody left. Nobody forced him into anything. No single moment you could point to and say, there, that's where it went wrong. He got comfortable, and comfort, if you let it, will do the rest without being asked. Here's the part of Daniel's story I haven't mentioned. Nobody did this to him. No system, no external pressure, no one pulling strings. The cage wasn't built around him. He built it, brick by brick, with material that looked every single time like a reasonable decision, like responsibility, like love, because some of those bricks were made of not wanting to hurt Sarah, or let his dad down, or look like someone who throws away what he has. Good intentions, all of them. And now he lives in something he'd never call a cage, because it's too warm to call a cage, and because naming it would mean accounting for everything he paid to build it. 3 months ago, Daniel ran into his college roommate, the one who quit his accounting job at 29 to work on a fishing boat for a summer. The one everyone agreed was making a mistake. They got coffee. Daniel listened. Not all of the stories were good. Some of them were genuinely costly, financially, relationally, the kind of outcomes that would have paralyzed Daniel. But his roommate told them laughing, not performing, actually laughing, the way people do when they've been somewhere real, lost something real, and came back knowing something they didn't before. Daniel drove home, parked in the garage, sat with his hands still on the wheel, the engine ticking as it cooled, the fluorescent light above humming at a frequency he'd never noticed before. 12 minutes, didn't know why, told himself he was just tired. This is where the story stops being about Daniel. Because something in the last few minutes landed. Maybe not everything, maybe one moment, one choice he made that your body recognized before your mind did. Not because you're him, but because you've made a version of that decision. The moment the discomfort of staying felt smaller than the discomfort of leaving. The conversation you're still holding. Waiting for the moment that doesn't come. The version of yourself you quietly retired. Not because you gave up, but because it started feeling selfish, unrealistic, like something younger people do before they understand how the world works. The thing you're good at, buried under the thing you're stable at. From the outside, you look fine, and you are fine. You wake up, you make coffee, you go through the day, you come home, you watch something, you sleep, and the next morning it starts again. And it's not bad, it's not painful. It just has this quality of being slightly smaller than you thought your life would feel. You sit with that smallness so often, it starts to feel like yours. But fine is not the same thing as alive. And the most corrosive thing comfort does, the thing that makes it genuinely dangerous, is it makes the space between those two words feel like nothing. It makes you stop measuring the gap.